Everyone, welcome to me and Grok in the kitchen. Today we're going to make prosciutto wrapped chicken breasts for dinner. Um, but before I do that, I have to talk a little bit about the chicken itself. So what I have here is a approximately a 10, maybe 11 ounce chicken breast. It actually came a little bigger than this in the package. And I've trimmed it. I've trimmed down across the tenderloin part. Then, because this is a thick piece of chicken, right? This is a whole thing. This is really thick. This is going to take a long time to cook because it's so thick, and it is going to end up dry. Now, one could say that chicken breast always ends up dry. And that's because chicken breast doesn't have a lot of fat in it. It doesn't have much of anything to help keep it moist. So when you cook it, what little moisture it does have kind of goes out of it. Many people overcook their chicken breast, and that's okay. If you like it that way, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to show you a way to do chicken breast that doesn't have to be just for this prosciutto wrapped chicken. You can use this technique for any kind of chicken breast that you're using, or really any kind of chicken that you're using. So back to the chicken breast. What I've done is, instead of pounding this, because I do have a thing to pound it with, instead, I didn't really want to tear up those fibers a whole lot. Again, they're going to have a hard enough time maintaining their moisture as it is. Why would I beat it up before I get it into the pan? So instead, what I did is I just kind of flatly took my hand and took my knife and I ran it right down the halfway point. And what that gave me was two pieces of chicken breast that are approximately 5.5 ounces each, which is a great portion for anybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brine this chicken, and you don't have to brine it for a really long time. I'm only going to brine it for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. It's 4:30 right now when I'm getting home, so I've got a little bit of time. I'll probably let it go an hour. If you can only let it go half an hour, that's perfectly fine too. The brine is simple. I have here my 8-cup container. It's just regular glass, doesn't really matter what it's in. I've got about 4 cups of water in here. I don't need a lot. I've only got 2 pieces of chicken I'm putting in here. To this, to make my brine, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. And I'm going to just mix that up. Now, you can use table salt here if you want, but again, remember that table salt has iodine and whatever else in it to keep it from caking up. I don't like those flavors, so I use kosher or sea salt. You could use sea salt here too, just as easily. But basically, all I'm doing here is I'm just whisking it around, making sure that the majority of my salt and my sugar have dissolved in the water, this cold water. Now, to brine this chicken, I'm going to just do this. The water covers it. That's all I need it to do. I don't even need to refrigerate this because I'm only going to do it for an hour. And when I come back, we'll make the prosciutto wrapped chicken breast that I'm going to have for supper tonight. Okay. It's been about 45 minutes. Family's getting hungry, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish up supper. You can see that my chicken has still been brining. It's still in the water. What I'm going to do with it now is I'm going to just take it out. And I've got some paper towel here, and I'm just going to put it on that paper towel. All right, and we're going to get rid of this water. And I'm also going to just take another paper towel, and I'm just going to kind of pat my chicken dry. Okay, I know this sounds counterintuitive when I keep talking about how chicken breast is so dry, but you also don't want water when you put it in your pan because that's just going to steam your chicken, and that just makes it rubbery and not good eats. Okay, so, okay, so now I've got my 2 pieces of chicken. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just add a little bit of pepper because there wasn't any pepper in that brine. But I'm not going to add any salt. And the reason for that is because there was salt in the brine. And what happens when you put foods in brine is the water and the salinity from outside kind of goes in and stuff from the outside comes out and it gets replaced. And basically what you end up doing is you end up seasoning your meat from the inside out because that water with all the salt in it gets right in there and it hydrates everything up really well. And this is part of what's going to help keep your chicken breast nice and moist is because the salt is going to help keep some of that moisture in the actual chicken breast itself. So add a little bit of pepper because I didn't, like I said, didn't have any on it in the brine. So now this is prosciutto. This is cured pork. It's extremely thin, and you buy it in a package just like this. It almost always has some kind of little piece of paper in between, and you can eat prosciutto just like this. You don't need to cook it. This is great on pizza. It's great instead of bacon. It's great as a garnish. It's great in a salad. It's really good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my pieces of prosciutto and I'm going to do just like what the recipe says. Prosciutto wrapped chicken breast. So I'm going to start taking my chicken breast and I'm just going to wrap it around. And this is probably going to take a couple of pieces. That's fine. Like I said, in the end, it's going to taste a little bit like bacony because that's kind of what it is, right? The other thing that prosciutto is going to do for this recipe is it's going to act a little bit like chicken skin would. It's going to act as a barrier and a protector of the actual meat itself. This is going to help keep moisture in as well. And just so we're clear, you can cook your chicken with the skin on it and simply not eat the skin, and you will get the same kind of calorie and fat content. It doesn't add anything to your fat content in your meal unless you actually eat the skin itself. And honestly, chicken skin is really good. So it's up to you if you want to eat it or not. I do not let it leave my plate and go in the trash. I happen to just really like it. So again, it looks like I'm going to use about 2 pieces for each one. And I'm just taking it off the paper and setting it on top and kind of tucking it under. That's it. That's all we need to do. That is, our chicken is now prosciutto wrapped. All I got to do now is cook it. Okay, so now that we've got the chicken all wrapped in its snug little prosciutto blanket, we can go ahead and cook it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some oil to my pan and get it warming up. Just a couple of glugs around. Now I'm doing this because you need some oil in your pan or everything is going to really kind of stick. This is going to have to cook for a couple of minutes and we're going to need to temp it to make sure it's done to the proper temperature. So you need something to make sure that it's not going to stick even in a nonstick pan. Again, the amount of oil in here is negligible. I've got maybe medium high for my temperature on my stove. I'm going to go ahead and let this heat up just for a minute or two. Okay, so my pan is getting hot. I can tell because I've got my hand over it and I can feel that it's hot. I'm actually going to turn my temperature down just a little bit. This is the hottest burner on my stove. I don't want to overcook it. I don't want to burn it. It's going to need to cook for a couple of minutes. But I wanted that pan to be nice and uniformly heated up. I'm going to move my oil around just a little bit. and then right in. Lovely little simmering sound. All right, I'm just gonna, let that go. See, it's not gonna stick. Got it on my lower third. And now that I'm doing that, I'm going to get the water going for my pasta. Now I want you to notice that I put these so that the prosciutto side that was the split, where it comes together, I put on the bottom. That's because I wanted that to solidify that so it'd be easier to turn. Okay, now I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. Turn them over. I'm going to probably turn them twice altogether. 3, maybe 4 minutes each side. Once I do the second turn over, I'll start to check it for a temperature to see how it's doing. And I love the sound of a sizzle. You just know it's going to be good eats when it makes that sound, unless you forget about it. If you overcook it, it's not going to be good eats. But if you're paying attention, giving it love, then it's going to be really good eats. Now, another reason why I'm flipping my chicken instead of just letting it go for a long period of time on one side and then flipping it over and letting it finish is because, again, I don't want my chicken breast to be dry. So I want to keep that moisture in. When there's heat coming up into your chicken, it forces, or any meat really, it forces the moisture to come up to the top. When you cook a steak, you'll notice sometimes you'll start to see the moisture coming up on the very top of the steak. That's when you know it's definitely time to turn because you're driving the moisture out of your meat. So I want to keep turning it because as it comes up, if I turn it, oh, now it's down and going towards the top, and it goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was trying to get away from that heat, so I'm going to stay right here in the middle. So always make sure that you are paying attention to what you're cooking and that you're doing that sort of a thing so that it actually keeps the moisture inside your meat, particularly chicken breast. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and flip these over again. Oh, yeah. See, look at that lovely browning on that prosciutto. So good. Okay, and I can see, I can kind of feel, see, it's not quite, it's not quite as bouncy backy as it was. So that's good. That means it is cooking. Now, the one thing about chicken is you do want to make sure that it's cooked all the way through the temperature. Okay. This is really, the part right here is thicker, so this is not quite done yet. That's at 121. So we're going to leave it in, even though that temp a little bit past what it needed to be. Again, here, it needs to be, we need to get to about 160, 163. Try to also remember when you're kind of cooking almost anything, that there's carryover cooking that happens. So once you turn it off, you take it out, you put it on a plate, you let it rest, whatever it's doing. It's gonna still, the temperature is gonna come up a little bit more because it still thinks that it's hasn't quite figured out yet that it's not getting the heat on its buns. However, that said, this is when I can make some choices. Now, you can 100% do this just like this. Take it out, serve it with your salad or whatever, your roast potatoes, whatever you're doing with this chicken. And you can take it out, let it set, and eat it just like this. And I guarantee it's going to be delish. Or you could do like what I used to do. You could just add tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of chili to the top whatever flavor you like. This one happens to be peach. And just put it right in there. What that's going to do is it's going to take that salty and all of that stuff, and it's going to give it a little sweet to go with it. And you can also use a little bit of hot honey and drizzle that right over the top. That's my husband's fave. And again, then you're adding sweetness and a little spice. All right, I'm going to shut this off, grab a plate, take this off of heat, and I'm just going to let this rest. I'm not going to cover it, anything else. I'm just going to set it over here while I'm finishing up my pasta and getting my salad ready. I'm just going to let that rest right there. Okay, so this is how I'm going to serve it up. Here's my piece with that little bit of peach chutney jam on it. I've got a nice salad, nice big serving of salad, and I got a little bit of pasta, cacio e pepe, which is basically a cheese and pepper kind of pasta. This is going to be, I guarantee you, going to love this for a weeknight meal. It really takes, other than putting it in the brine first for that first 45 minutes, half hour, and get the kids settled in, get them a snack, do what's going on, and then take it back out of the brine and get it going. The other thing I will say is, even if it goes an hour and a half in the brine, it's not going to hurt it. Things are going to even out in there, and then they're going to stay good. I wouldn't necessarily brine my chicken breast for more than a couple of hours when it's thin like that. Might actually get a little too salty, but quick, easy weeknight meal. You guys are going to love this. Thank you very much for joining me today for this episode of Me and Grok in the Kitchen. I appreciate your continued patronage. Please feel free to follow me on any of the social media. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram and on True Social and on X. So, and don't forget YouTube. I'm on YouTube. That's where you can see all the videos. I'll post this recipe there along with its nutritional value. And I'm really excited about this one for you guys because it feels a little fancy, but it's just really simple, simple, simple. And you never know, that special someone might really like it. Anyway, it's really great eats. And we all know that life is too short to eat bad food.